Somalia and the European Union have a very close relationship. We work together in a number of areas, including security, development, and humanitarian sectors.
Together, we worked on peace-building initiative and overall governance sector. We have worked on democratic processes and really trying to give women and youth the platforms to exercise their political ambitions. We have also worked to really give the elections credibility by deploying local election observers across the 6 regions of Somaliland.
The EU, a key donor in Somalia's electoral process, has been supporting the NIC since it was formed in 2015. NIC is now technically well prepared to hold one person, one vote election for the first time in over 50 years.
None of this would be possible without the generous funding and support from the European Union.
I would like to take this opportunity and wish my friends at the EU delegation, my friend, Ambassador Nicolas Berlanga, European Union Day, Senator William Excellence.
Thank you, Europe, and we wish you a happy Europe Day from Somaliland.
Happy Europe Day from Somaliland Civil Society.
A very happy European Day, and thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Hassan. Welcome to this live special live stream. You have just watched a short video of some government officials and EU implementing partner organizations to help us mark and celebrate Europe Day 2020. For many years, the European Union delegation to Somalia has been a pivotal partner to the Somali government as well as the Somali people. And to help us better understand the role that the EU has been playing in Somalia, we have a special guest joining us today. Please welcome the EU Ambassador to Somalia, Nicolas Berlanga.
Thank you very much, Hassan, and thank you to all of the people that are following us, that in these difficult times decided to join us through the web and through internet. We wanted to find ways to share our joy during our National Day. For us, Europe Day represents a positive look at the past history of Europe and hopefully also a better future for all of our citizens. We are here in Somalia working hard, hand to hand, with the institutions, with the authorities, with men and women that are struggling to overcome COVID, but also to build a prosperous and secure future for Somalia. You see, when we study the history of Europe for the last 70 years, what we see is that there is no tragedy enshrined in the destiny of nations. Societies, countries, nations are what their citizens, what their men and women, what their leaders want them to be. So it is something that should be built day by day by all of you, by all of us. Also, we discovered after two very difficult wars in Europe in the 20th century that working together, we should concentrate less over where borders are and focus instead of making borders irrelevant. Physical borders are not only on the ground, are also on our minds. And whatever we can do to make them irrelevant, whatever we can do to bridge agreements and to bridge dialogue among people, that brings prosperity for all. Our founding fathers in Europe also define some core values. and they define that democracy, the rule of law, the abolishment of death penalty, the freedom of speech as core values, as a framework for all of us to work inside and to rule the internal functioning of our institutions and our societies. And again, that brought prosperity to all of us. Finally, you know, the European Union in the world, we are always advocating in favor of common solutions, coordinated solutions to global challenges. And these days, COVID, these days, climate change are telling us that we are right. And we count on the partnership we are building with Somalia, with Eastern Africa, with Africa to find these coordinated solutions. We are very much aware of the efforts that have been done for the last years to strengthen institutions in Somalia. We are very much aware of the resilience of the Somali society against naturally made disasters, but also against man-made disasters. We know and we have experienced the proudness of your culture, how proud are you of your religion, are your uses, and we are very much aware and we know that we need to adapt our response to this proudness, these histories that belong to you. We also know the strength that you have with your diaspora and how the diaspora continues to be so engaged with the ongoing works, with the ongoing efforts in Somalia. And we need to turn it into an opportunity. We need to see how to build forces together with your diaspora. So I would like today, Europe Day, to ensure again our commitment with the authorities when they are trying to open the political space. We believe a lot that the young people, these dynamic young people, young women and men, Somali women and men should have a voice about the political scenario, about the political decision of the country. And we will accompany all of you that will work on that direction. We want to reiterate also our commitment to fight together with all partners, the international community, the African Union, the Somali authorities to fight terrorism, to eradicate terrorism. We also give a lot of value to dialogue and to negotiation. Our history tells us how a bad agreement is always better than a good war. Policies should be asymmetric, could be flexible to adapt to the different circumstances. Federal solutions or confederal solutions, we have seen how that have worked also in Europe. We have, for example, a common currency, the euro, and not all of our member states have adopted it. But we have also other policies, like, for example, the Schengen area, the area of free movement of people, in which also non-member states are part of. The most important thing is to reach agreements and to engage under the rule of law in this agreement. So the Somali authorities, the Somali people can count on the European Union for any effort in favor of a peaceful resolution of conflicts. We are very happy. We are very happy that you are with us today to celebrate with us the Europe Day. We thank you for to accept to be with us, because we don't want to talk only about the future of Europe, of the European Union, we want to talk also about our common future also together with Somalia. So thank you very much for sharing with us and celebrating with us Europe Day. Thank you.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Ambassador, for that wonderful speech. We are awaiting the Prime Minister to join us in any moment. But in the meantime, I guess, Carlson, can you tell us a little bit about, you recently went into the city and you had, you've spoken to several people, and we have a video that I wanted to share with our audience. And I'm just going to try to play that video. So just bear with me for 1 sec while I find.
السلام عليكم رمضان كريم مقاعد وسامي محيدين عدد كمدا هو أنا ضعفو هولان كول سنتركا حرمتنا كل حسوكنا وحرمتي كول سنتركا الصومالية حرمتنا وحرمتي ونفا أو شقيسة دليرة ضغط شقيسة ودليرة مرور بهيج الفجرة إني كجوابان باهية باهيها عافمات كذي منايا بشدة وباهن إن عافمات كالسيو أنت بدنا كلنا كنسوعي وحسوا بجرا ستح قيب وحا bulsho u baahan tan caafimaad la siiyo tusaale qaar ka mid ah calaamadihii leh dad u baahan dhacaya maxaa sameynaa calaamadaas aan soo aragnay dadka soo kale waxaa siina talin caafimaad sidoo kale xarunta waxa la soo xiriira dad xaalad degdeg ku jira oo u baahan inaan kuwaasna caawino goobaha u badan inta badan ee nagala soo waca gobolada waxa ku banaadir waxa ku xigta shabeellada dhexe waxa ku xigta shabeellada hoose waxa ku xigta baay waxa ku xigta galgaduud waxa ku xigta hiiraan baa ku xigta boqol baa kamida midug baa kamida geed baa kamida bismillah magacayga waa dr xillo daawud ibrahim waxaan ka shaqeeyaa istaan martine awal maxaan ahaa shaqala qaybta haweenka ka shaqeyn jiray hadda covid response team aan ku jira markuu bilowd ilaa hadda ka shaqeynaya hadda tirada loo joogto waxa waaye waxaa noo jiiftay isbitaalka waqti xaadirka 32 qof aa noo jiifaa qaar badanna way raysteen biyahooda aan u fasaxnay isbitaalka hadda aniga waxaan ka qabtaa riboortka isbitaalka oo dhan wixii qofkii intii dhimatay intii dastiga loo sameeyey waxaa la dhahaa dadkii caafimaadeen oo la fasaxay sarjiga la dhahay intaas aan sameeya waxaa hadda si wanaagsan hawsha bartaan isbitaalka gacanta uga haya dhan kasta wax walba naga caawinayo xafiiska prime ministerka waxyaabo badan ha jirtaan dhibaatooyin badan awal way jireen laakiin hadda wax walba way noo fiican yihiin bukaanada si fiican aa loo handal garayaa waxaan dhihi lahaa soomaalina inay nala qaataan xanuun
Hello. Sorry, apologies for the interruption. We have some Wi-Fi issues, which is quite common.
Maybe, Carlson, you may step in and see whether we can interact with those people that are connected with us.
Yes. So, Carlson, you just recorded that video. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then also, if you have any questions for the ambassador.
Yes. Okay, Salam alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak, everybody. My name is Kalson Ahmed Abdi, and I'm your co-host today. I'd like to welcome you all once again to our Europe Day 2020 special live streaming event, where we will be discussing several important issues for Somalis, including COVID response, financial management, budget support, elections, and others. We also We'll be taking questions from our audience, so please be sure to share any comments and questions on our Facebook page during the program. We will be going through them and also having the conversation with you online. So last week I had the opportunity to visit the National COVID-19 Emergency Call Center and the Martini Hospital. And I'd like to take this opportunity also to commend the Somali government and in particular the Ministry of Health and the Office of the Prime Minister for their coordination and the management of the national COVID response. To be honest with you, I was really impressed. A lot of the people that I got to encounter during my visits were actually young, very young people, which is remarkable. I went to hospitals for treatment. I went to actually visit the Martini Hospital, which is the designated COVID hospital, the testing facility, the call center, all are managed and run by Somali youth. I think most of them were under the age of 30. And that's really remarkable. And they have a huge responsibility. And you can tell that they have taken ownership. So I was very impressed by that. The situation in Somalia is very difficult. The disease has exploded. Well, not exploded, I hate to use that word, but it's spread a lot, especially in the last 3 weeks. And now we have cases across the country. So the services and the distribution of materials and COVID response emergency medicines are being distributed actually with the support of the EU across the country. So it's a tough time in Somalia. Not only are we facing COVID, we're also facing floods, so heavy rains in the last couple of days in the country. We saw what happened in Cardo last week, where there was a huge flood that swept away a town. Through a town in Puntland. We've also seen floods elsewhere in Somalia, and we also have, you know, the locust infestation and how that will affect the harvests in Somalia. So we are going through a very difficult time. However, the young people in Somalia have really stepped up, and we see the evidence of that even when we go into the city and meet the young people providing the services.
Thank you, Carlson, for that. But also, just to ask the ambassador, as we've seen in that video, is there anything you wanted to add in terms of what the EU is doing to assist the Somali government in its response to the coronavirus outbreak?
Well, I think we have already publicized the package that immediately after the outbreak of the COVID, the EU put at the disposal of the government of Somalia. We did that, and this is a combination of short-term and medium-term measures trying to accompany the effort. We know that this is only a drop in the challenge of huge that what we did as well in parallel to the assistance we managed to give is just to advocate in all the forums. We had the opportunity to advocate in favor of coordination. All of us working behind the authorities, the Ministry of Health, the WHO, and also institutions that are already working for the economic recovery after the crisis. What I would like to say this morning is that this is ongoing, and there is a full commitment coming from all levels of the society. But still the awareness, still the scope of the challenge, I don't think that it is well appreciated by the part of the society. Social distancing, the use of masks, the non-stigmatization of people, that's very important. Let me welcome the Prime Minister that just joined us. The Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm very happy that you accepted to share with us Europe Day. this celebration. You know, for us, it is a day of joy, but this is when we are in Somalia. I mean, we want to share it also with our partners, and you are our main partner. So thank you for accepting this invitation. I already have the opportunity to say a few words. I will do a very brief summary for you before giving you the floor.
Very good.
What I try just to take some lesson from our own history and remind how what has happened in Europe for the last 70 years has shown that there is no tragedy is right in any nation. Nations are what the citizens want, what the leaders want. We learned also that instead of concentrating where borders are, we should concentrate instead of how make borders irrelevant. That dialogue and consultation are more powerful than borders. We also learn from our history that some values like democracy, the rule of law, the abolishment of death penalty, freedom of expression, this is a framework that brings prosperity for all. We know that there are some cultural obstacles to overcome, but the fact is that we are all working under these premises. Prosperity comes to all of us. And finally, I also recall from our history how important are concerted responses to global challenges. And COVID or climate change or others are giving us reason, and we are very happy that Somalia is with us in this search of global responses. When I talk about Somalia, I appreciated the efforts that you have done for the last year in strengthening institutions. I recognize the dynamism of your young population. I recognize the resilience of the society against natural made but also man-made disasters. And also the proudness of your culture, or your ancient culture, or the strength of your diaspora, and how any solution should be something that optimizes all this strength. And finally, I ended, Mr. Prime Minister, just confirming our commitment in your efforts to open the political space, to give voice to young men and women in Somalia to also be part of the political decisions. And also to reassure our engagement to fight terrorism together with you and with other partners, including the African partners. So finally, I reiterated our disposal to be a reliable, to be a discreet partner in favor of negotiated solutions. Solutions should not be symmetrical. They can be asymmetrical. They can be federalistic or confederalistic. If you look at Europe, for example, the euro, our common currency, is not adopted by all EU member states, but it is working. Or, for example, the Schengen space, where the people can move freely, there are also non-member states that are part of this Schengen area. So decisions should be creative, and a bad agreement is always better than a good war. So these are the things that I repeated, that I am happy to repeat with you and say, you can count on us to continue accompanying you. And again, thank you for accompanying us.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I'm sorry I was a bit late, but it is always good to join you and your colleagues. I don't know how many people are online and how many other ambassadors who are joining here. There's not many faces I see except yours, which is good. But I hope everyone can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you, Prime Minister. Go ahead. We're listening.
Hello, can you hear me? There's something wrong with my sound.
Minister, no, you're fine, Prime Minister. Continue. We can hear you.
Oh, very good. I'm really glad to join you today in celebrating this important Europe Day. Even at this time when the world is facing major health crisis with a similar global impact, I would like to begin first by extending our congratulations to our European partners on this historic day. Europe, known for its resilience, was built out of destruction of war. But since the historic declaration that set the European integration in motion, Europe has managed to build strong institutions that are able to withstand global shocks, including the current health pandemic that the world is confronting. You would also appreciate, Excellencies, that Somalis are also known to be resilient, and as a result, we're emerging out of decades of civil strife and starting to rebuild our nation with the same dedication and universal values that Europeans advanced. Values of democracy, values of freedom of speech, equality, access to power and resources, accountability, and respect for human rights. We in Somalia continue to view the EU as a strategic partner that is reliable, constant, and committed to the Somali people. We continue to seek this strategic partnership and leadership, especially at this time when Somalia is faced with the greatest challenge in decades. The European spirit that we're celebrating here today, spirit of solidarity, could not have been more relevant today as we grapple with unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic. While the adverse impact of the COVID-19 has been felt across the entire globe, its impact on Somalia has been most disruptive and trying. Here in Somalia, we were in the middle of historic reform efforts when the COVID-19 crisis started, on top of other existing emergencies. The global health pandemic occurred just as we concluded a 3-year reform struggle to allow for re-engagement with international financial institutions with the help of Europe, and thereby spur economic growth. The crisis came when our business community was ready to reap the benefits of the debt relief, when we were ready to invite the world to our shores. The pandemic arrived at our shores when we had carefully crafted a security sector reform path that culminated in liberation and holding of territories. And the pandemic also prematurely interrupted of our constitutional review process. Another major project is for this nation that our people have been yearning for the past 30 years. The socio-economic cost of this pandemic is just beginning to become apparent. Many of you will already seen our remittances have declined rapidly. Trade has dropped. Somali businesses are affected and household income has collapsed. Somali banks are facing major problems in their day-to-day transactions with the rest of the world. And to top it off, I cannot emphasize enough the human cost of it. And here today, in this important gathering of Europe Day, I would like to pay tribute to the men and women at the front line here at home and abroad, especially in Europe, the various government agencies in Europe, organizations, institutions that are sacrificing so much to contain the pandemic and mitigate its aftermath. This occasion gives us also an opportunity to learn from European integration and solidarity. And as such, today, Europe's solidarity with Somalia is now required more than ever. We have surmounted so many obstacles, and we shall overcome this one as well. Of course, it is different from our hurdle and the past hurdles and requires concerted efforts both domestically and globally. The support and partnership to respond to the coronavirus pandemic from the international partners, including the European Union, both collectively and individually, will be the clearest manifestation of solidarity with the Somali people at the time of a dire needs. It is the only way to beat this disease and restore normalcy through solidarity and a spirit of unity. And despite all the challenges, we're working very hard to unify our nation and to continue implement the major projects that we've set for this nation for the many years to come. The unity project that the Europeans have created is not something anyone should take for granted. Unifying over 500 million of citizens, over 20 languages, 19 out of 27 currencies, is maybe the greatest example of the strength of that unity. And for that, I join you today, despite the challenges that the world is facing, to celebrate with you. But what we Somalis maybe need to learn from the European project is the value of that unity, the value we have inherited from our founding fathers. Our biggest project as Somalis in Somalia must therefore be the project of reunification of our nation. Reunification with Somaliland will of course require compromise, trust, and goodwill as the Europeans have shown. And we are ready to embrace all that because we believe it is in every Somali's interest to pursue this objective, which is both noble and practical. And with the support of the European Union, I am 100% certain that the Somalis will work hard to achieve that objective. I thank you for the invitation, and once again, Happy Europe Day to all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for your words, which are well noted, and you can count on this hard work to accompany the efforts. We know the urgency of the situation, and we know that the urgency of the short term should not divert also our view, our long-term view about the future of Somalia. Thank you very much for joining us, and I was very much appreciated. We will continue now. We are, as you know, it has been casted online to our Facebook page. There are a lot of people following us. I will give you later a summary of comments that we are receiving, but I now will continue with that kind of interaction with the people following us. But we really appreciate your presence. And of course, you are free to continue with us or leave us, because we know that you have to be very busy.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ambassador, once again for the invitation, and thank you very much for standing with the Somali people, both you and your colleagues. Our partnership, which has proven to be a strategic partnership, a committed partnership. And for that, I'm very happy that I could join you. And once again, I wish you a happy Europe Day. And I will let you go on with that and let you and your other colleagues continue. And my congratulations to everyone who is also watching. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.
Unmute myself. Thank you so much to the Prime Minister. That was wonderful. And thank you as well, Ambassador. We will continue with our program. And Ambassador, I wanted to play for you a video that our colleague Carlson has collected from the show.
Mr. Hassan and Mrs. Carlson, I think we are at your disposal. I am at your disposal for any interaction that you are reading coming from the people joining us this morning.
Yes, fantastic. So we will ask you a couple of questions from the audience, but in the meantime, we have a couple of questions of our own to ask you. if you will permit us. So I just wanted to play for you a short video, and it's a young man, and he's speaking in Somali, so I'll translate for you on the other side. Share screen.
magacaygu waa cabdikariim faarax jaamac ku nool magaalada muqdisho waxaan rabaa wax yarna ka hadlo arrinta diin cafinta waan ku faraxsanahay dowladda Soomaaliya in diinta laga cafiyo waan soo dhaweynaynaa maasha Allah waxaan rabaa inaan sii weydiiyo maxay faa'iido noo leedahay dhalinyaro ahaan ama shakhsiyan ahaan arrinta diin cafinta taas ayaan kusoo koobaa maasha Allah magacaygu waa cabdikariim faarax jaamac.
So thank you so much, Abdi Karim. Ambassador, what the young man was basically asking in that question, which he asked in Somali, is that he's very happy about the recently announced debt relief. And he basically wants to know how that will actually help him and people like him in Somalia. And I wanted to follow that up with a question to ask you that, of course, debt relief is very important, but it's also just one of many things that we should all be doing in Somalia. So I was wondering if you can tell us, in order to have an inclusive, genuinely inclusive economic growth in Somalia, there are other things that need to be done, such as public finance management. Can you tell us a little bit about what the EU is engaged with currently in terms of making sure that economic growth happens in Somalia?
So I'm sorry for those that are looking at us. I cannot see the moderators, Hassan and Carlson, being connected. Probably they are suffering from poor internet connection. I would like to thank all of you that you are, I can see in the live comments that you are with us this morning. We didn't want to avoid having this interaction, even if this year is a very special year. And even if we know the difficulties that sometimes internet connection presents. So before closing this ceremony, let me thank, I can see that you are writing and present from all parts of Somalia. I can see as well how you are expressing some concerns. And I can see, for example, comments related to freedom of speech. And you know how we strongly advocated some days ago in favor of freedom of speech, and we said how the detention or prison for journalists should never be an option, and there are other ways to make sure that the use of freedom of speech is done under the law. I can see also some concern relating to the use of the assistance, and I think that sometimes it is more a bad perception of than a reality. I can tell you that at least from the European Union, but I know also that from the European Union member states and from other international partners, there are a lot of points of verification for us to make sure that whatever assistance is provided to the people of Somalia reach the people and reach the citizens. And I have to tell you that the one bad ship should not condemn the extraordinary efforts coming from the majority of authorities, from the majority of local councils, from the majority of international and national NGOs. I can see also that there are some concern or some suggestion about the idea of promoting dialogue and promoting peaceful resolution and negotiation. And I can tell you as well that this is one of our first priorities. And I can tell you that also I share that, and I can say that most of the international community, most of us that are here in Somalia or working for Somalia or following very close the situation in all the parts of Somalia, we are always in favor of dialogue. We are always very happy to recognize the proactiveness that some leaders are having to solve differences through dialogues and negotiation. And as I said, when I talked to the Prime Minister, a bad agreement is always better than a good war. So these are most of the comments that I can see coming from you. We will try to improve the system for future occasions, but I think now I'm going to close this session thanking you again for your presence. Please know that this session will be uploaded in our Facebook page and probably also in our YouTube channel. Thank you very much and have a nice and safe Europe Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Carlson, for joining us. And we appreciate the time that you've spent with us.